The member for Shellharbour.
Thank you. And before I start my contribution, can I just welcome the Nurses Association here and the nurses that are here and midwives and your supporters. Welcome you to the New South Wales Parliament and know that Labor supports your cause and supports your campaign 100%. During my contribution, Mr Acting Speaker, on the budget estimates and related papers, I wish to place on the record just how the government's budget has failed my electorate. The government made only two commitments at the election in the Illawarra. One was to construct the Albion Park Rail bypass and the other was to upgrade the Shellharbour Hospital. There is nothing in this year's budget for either project beyond the usual planning funds. Despite pressure to outline a firm and precise timetable for each project, the government refuses to set dates. In fact, it voted against doing so. The Minister for Health has confirmed that the business case for the upgrade of Shellharbour Hospital remains incomplete. It has yet to be endorsed by the Ministry of Health. One would have expected that having made election commitments with so much fanfare only a week before election day, all of the detail relating to the business case should have been finalised by now, but it isn't. My concern is just what is being revised in the business case. What services and facilities that were promised on the eve of the election are now being cut out of the business case? And again, I refer to our friends here in the gallery today. This is an issue right across New South Wales. It's a similar case with the Albion Park Rail bypass. There is no start date and there is no finish date. These two infrastructure projects have a total investment for the southern Illawarra of $800 million. In my view, it is the government that will cynically delay the start of the construction of both of these projects until the eve of the next election in 2019. In the meantime, motorists using the Princes Highway along the Albion Park Rail bypass will be forced to put up with another 4 years of traffic congestion. I noticed that the member for Kiama has just walked into the House to listen to listen to this debate, and I ask that the interjections will cease because I gave him the good manners and the grace to put his. The patients using the Shellharbour Hospital have no guarantee that what was promised at the election will be delivered after it. During the last sitting, I moved a motion calling on the government to start these two projects with urgency. There is a new urgency in getting these two projects underway.
Order. The member for Shellharbour will resume her seat. The member for Kiama on a point of order. What is the point of order?
The point of order is relevant, Mr Speaker, because neither of these projects were promised by the member for Shellharbour in the last election.
Order. The member for Kiama will resume his seat. The member for Kiama will resume his seat.
In the Illawarra. Mr Acting Speaker, it relates to the steel crisis in the Illawarra, and I thank you for your sensible call. Nearly a month ago, the trade union movement in the Illawarra and the University of Wollongong released a major study into the impact of the closure of the steel industry in the Illawarra. The report makes for a damning assessment on the Illawarra's economic and social future if the steel industry shuts down. The report concludes that if the scenario played out, up to the $3.3 billion of the Illawarra gross national regional product would be wiped away. For a $15.5 billion regional economy, this represents a 21% fall in the economic value of the region. Up to 10,000 full-time equivalent jobs would also be wiped out. We simply cannot afford such an outcome in the Illawarra. We would become the Detroit of Australia if this were to happen, Mr Acting Speaker. On the 24th of August, BlueScope Steel released its full-year financial position to the Australian Stock Exchange. It outlined the challenges of making steel and has foreshadowed 500 jobs to be cut. Most importantly, the company is still actively considering closing its plant and importing steel rather than making it, as it has for the last 8 decades. The company also revealed what it has asked the state government by way of assistance, Mr Acting Speaker. Despite the secrecy surrounding the Premier's recent discussions with BlueScope Steel, we know exactly what the company has requested of his government. On Friday, led by the Shadow Treasurer and Shadow Minister for the Illawarra, I joined my other state and federal Labor colleagues to outline a 10-point plan we have produced to secure Illawarra jobs. Our plan has an immediate, medium and long-term measures to help address the current jobs crisis in the Illawarra. On Monday, a summit of sorts was convened in Wollongong to discuss the steel crisis in the Illawarra. It was good, as these sorts of discussions go. However, for now, there's still no time for substance. I read in the Illawarra Mercury on the 8th of September that the federal and state governments have already agreed to a big proposal, but they just won't announce it now. There is so much speculation floating around the Illawarra about what this big proposal actually is. And I hope for the sake of the region, Mr Acting Speaker, that the federal and state governments stop playing political games and start actually making substantive announcements now. After all, it is not as if the crisis has just snuck up on us. The challenge for the federal and state governments is to meet the expectations of the Illawarra, only now placed into heightened overdrive by speculation over what this big proposal is. As a part of this contribution, I would like to make a brief point about the transition of the Illawarra economy. We have been facing up to the challenges of restructuring in the Illawarra for the past 3 decades. It's almost a cliche to say that our economy is transitioning away from old-style volume manufacturing to services. Mr Acting Speaker, this trend will continue over decades to come, there is no doubt about that. But manufacturing will remain important to the region. Its very nature will, however, continue to change. One area we need to clearly focus on, much more in the Illawarra, is in the rapidly changing nature of industry supply chains. We need to have more comprehensive understanding of changing industry supply chains. There is no doubt too much concentration, in my view, by our Illawarra stakeholders, only linkages on the Sydney CBD. There is another substantial region which I think we have collectively neglected for too long in the Illawarra. And I don't think I'll get an argument from the member for Kiama on this. Western Sydney is right in our backyard. In fact, just over the magnificent Illawarra escarpment. It happens to be the 3rd largest regional economy in Australia, producing nearly $100 million worth of economic output every single year. Western Sydney is home to 2 million people. More than 150 of Australia's top 500 companies are located in Western Sydney. There are more than 160 small and medium enterprises in the region. Nearly 9,000 manufacturing businesses are located in Western Sydney.
Order. Member for Shellharbour. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it being 4:30 p.m, debate is interrupted for the